Friends, our world has changed dramatically in the last week. With the spread of COVID-19, we are living in a very different world today compared to that of March the 15th. If your head is spinning and you find yourself thinking, is this real life? I'm with you. 100%. I actually did an Instagram post talking about how I went from emceeing a couple of big events in a week with 500 plus people in attendance, where I hug all the speakers that I introduce because that's what I do. That's what I've always done, to canceling everything, and I mean everything, and staying at home and now practicing social distancing. I find myself thinking, now what? What does this all mean? And then you add to this list the monumental changes our children are going through. From initially rejoicing over the fact that school was being canceled to finally realizing they're not going back this year, and seeing the disappointment and the disillusion on their faces and trying to help them understand and navigate these situations. You know, for many parents, our thoughts immediately went, homeschooling. How do we do this? When are we going to get our curriculum? When are the teachers going to give us some guidance? And why is that online curriculum taking so long? And then you add in the new reality of social distancing. And look, we're already so connected because of technology. This adds another layer to it. Or does it? If you are feeling this way, I hold space for you. My thoughts raced too. I saw the joy, confusion, and disappointment on my children, and I held them through the tears. The reality is we all need help during this unprecedented time. We need help and perspective and connection and community. We need to lean in and lean on one another in every way we can. So today, I am bringing back a guest by popular demand to the inner circle because she is amazing when it comes to guiding children and families through difficult times. She is a best-selling Canadian author of Kids These Days, a game plan for reconnecting with those we teach, lead, and love. She's taken her message across Canada about the power of connections, and I mean really connecting with people. Her name is Dr. Jody Carrington. She's a clinical psychologist who has spent most of her career working with children and families. She manages a private practice, a big one. She's also a mother to 3 children, a son, followed by boy-girl twins. And let me say this, she is funny, really, really funny. We need her perspective during these challenging times, and she's the first person that came to my mind when I said, now what? And so without further ado, I am so honored to welcome back to the inner circle, the one and only Dr. Jody Carrington, joining us, of course, by Zoom call today. Hello, gorgeous lady. How are you?
Carrie friggin' Doll. I love how you say my name. Like, I still feel like I'm back in the news, watching news, and you're like, Dr. Jody. I was like, just talk to me. I love it. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for calling me a social folk. You know, when anybody says this week, would you do a podcast? Can we talk on the phone? Yes, we can. Yes, we
Listen, let me begin with this. How are you and your family doing?
Thank you for that question. You know what? I feel so thankful every single day. My only job is to keep us healthy. And so we're all doing great. You know, the twins are 7 and Asher's 9 and Aaron, you know, we have this beautiful luxury of being able to work from home. So it's great, but I got to tell you, even with all of these resources, I mean, generally we freak out at least 3 times a day. And it's either Aaron talking me down or, you know, I'm talking Aaron down because we're talking, you know, we just panic about his mom is immunocompromised. My dad is still trying to get back from the States. There's so many things in our community. I'm worried about my friends and our colleagues and, you know, watching people around us. So I go from this place of what a beautiful opportunity this is to like, holy mother, how are we going to sustain this? And, you know, when you watch Italy, are we doing everything we can right now? So there's all of that spinniness. And I'm just trying to normalize that a little bit.
Okay, you used a really interesting phrase, how to normalize that during this time. I just want to take a step back. What is normal to feel during this time as human beings and then as parents? and then for kids. So answer those individually.
All right. So first of all, I mean, I love that you picked up on this word normal. Man, there's nothing normal when you don't have a script for it. So we're kind of in uncharted territory. This is unprecedented in terms of being specific to a virus. Now, getting through hard things is not unprecedented. Being brave, doing things that we don't know how it's going to turn out. I mean, that's the definition of brave, right? Doing something, stepping in with your whole heart when you don't know how it's going to end. If we knew how this was going to end, it's not brave. And we don't know that. And so I don't know the script for, you know, how you help your teenager social distance. I don't know the exact script on how we write, you know, this story with our teachers being away, or how you handle a stage 4 cancer diagnosis in the middle of a pandemic, or how you give birth alone. Like, I don't understand the scripts for all of those things specifically. But I think from a global perspective, I understand without a doubt we're wired to do it. We are wired to do hard things, and we will only be able to survive this if we stay connected. And I think the biggest issue for me right now is how to do that, right? Obviously in a safe way. And, but it will be the same answer regardless. It will be the same answer regardless, that we are all just here walking each other home. You've heard me say this before, Ram Dass. It's my favorite Ram Dass quote on the whole planet. We are all just here walking each other home. And there will be some days where you'll feel like you got it. And those are the days we need you to step up. And there'll be some days where you don't. And that's where this community, you know, our respective communities, we have you. So it's things like this that I really admire, Carrie, when you can sort of create the inner circle and you can sort of pivot and move. How do we then create this community to be one that you can kind of find it as a safe place to land as we navigate this uncharted territory? Can we navigate it? Yeah. Yes. We've done hard things. But how we do that, we got to be together.
Okay. So before we get into that, I want to know what's normal reaction as adults. Like, what is it?
Bring me back to the question. Thank you, interviewer. So there is no normal, and I think that's the hardest part, right? I feel like you should be in this place of, you know, being concerned. I think you should be in this place of really, you know, going back and forth between, is everybody losing their mind over this for no reason? I think you should be worried about, you know, I was watching Anne Lamott. I don't know if you follow her. She's one of my favorite authors on the planet. Okay. She was sort of just giving permission yesterday in this post that I read about her that I thought was so beautiful. Like, if you're worried about your roots and your eyelashes growing out, that's okay, girl. If you're worried about whether your, you know, your mom's going to die, that's all right. Right? We're all in this place, and I think it's so much about how do we give each other grace. I think how we stay grounded is not an end game. And I think what's normal is to have it go all over the place. That just in one moment when you feel like you got it and you know that your babies are going to be okay, or you know that, you know, you're going to navigate this as you co-parent with your children, or, you know, whatever your story is. And then the next minute to be completely a disaster. That's okay.
Oh, right? Thank God.
But right. But I think it's okay. And I think that's exactly what I would expect right now, is to get emotionally dysregulated and then be okay. Emotionally dysregulated and then be okay. And that will be the name of the game for the next little bit. There's no way around it. We got to go through it.
Thank you. So we got to work our way through the swamp.
Yes,
Sit in the swamp and just be there. Thank you for holding space for those feelings, because I know countless people, and I'm one of them, that was feeling them. So now I want you to talk from the perspective of kids. What's normal emotionally for them right now and their behaviors?
Mm-hmm. So you know, I'm a child psychologist. That's what I, you know, practice as, but I rarely see kids, because even in this situation, so many people have been asking me about, what do I do with my kids? What do I say to my kids? So first of all, what I want you to know is that the big people become my priority. They always have been, and they always will be, because if we're not okay, our babies don't stand a chance. So you can tell them all day long to stay calm. You can tell them all day long that we're going to figure this out. You're going to tell them all day long, but you have to show them. And our biggest effort is going to be focusing on the big people who hold them. We have teachers right now that are trying to learn a whole new language. We have EAs that may never, you know, get a place back in the classroom till next year. We have, you know, custodians, bus drivers, all of those people who were in a place that were very connected to kids that don't have that anymore. And so much of this is, how do we walk each other home in this process, so that our babies are going to look to us. Our babies are going to look to us. And so what's going to happen is, when we feel off, they'll feel off. So we should see an increase in emotional dysregulation. We should see an increase because they can feel it. You know, your babies are so connected to you. They'll smell your dysregulation from the parking lot. Like they know when shit's off, you know. And we got the CNN going on. We got Justin on another show. I mean, and Aaron and I are having hard conversations, which I think is beautiful. I want our children to hear it. But I also want them to be very cognizant of the times where we come back down off that crazy train, where we say, okay, here's what I'm thinking, right? Because I really take this back, Carrie, which is what I love so much about this process of imagine when wartime, previous to what our grandparents or even some of our parents went through, they sat in the kitchen saying, what if we never see him again? Once he gets deployed, what if we never see him again? They didn't hide those things from the kids because they couldn't. They were all in the same place together. Right? How do I do this in a way that is developmentally appropriate? How do I pay attention to, keep eyes on? How do I watch? Because this is a time where we got to do things differently. I have to talk very seriously about showing you how to wash your hands and be like, don't put your hands in your mouth. Jesus. What are you doing? Like, those are the conversations that are going to happen. And when I react like that, I want to then be able to explain, look at me, baby girl. Right? I know right now, this is why it's serious for mommy, because this is really a scary time. You can catch this bug really easy. So mommy's going to say this, sometimes I'm going to lose my mind over that, but let's talk about it. What are you worried about? What are we scared about? Again, it's that idea of holding space for them, right? So many people are like, oh my gosh, will they need therapy through this? Who needs the biggest holding is us, right? And I was telling you this before we sort of popped on here. I started doing the live every morning, you know, on our page, right? So between 8 and 8:30, I jump on and just basically say that every single day. Look at me. This corona crisis is gonna be okay. And I get everybody to say it like that, corona, because you cannot be dysregulated if you're laughing. So much of this is, how do we bring the joy? You know, I watched my husband teach my children how to do burpees this morning. I have never fucking seen the guy do, oh, sorry, can you edit that out?
So good.
I've never seen my personal husband do a burpee before, and I will tell you something, because we go to the gym separately all the time, because we don't have time to manage our children. And he's doing a burpee with our personal children, and I was like, what is even happening? What has happened to you? And so, like, I mean, I would have never done burpees with my personal husband before. And now I'm like, well, corona, what a gift. What a gift that I am now watching my farmer husband try to do that magic with the children in their jammies. Livy don't got underwear on. She got a JoJo Siwa nightie. The boys are naked. Like, I'm like, what? If you could ever see what happens in my house, you would be like, so she wrote a book about kids.
Oh, God.
Not fucking buying it.
Corona. I can say it. Corona. Okay, wait. There's about 5 million questions that I have related to that previous answer. First of all, how much is too much when it comes to talking about this issue with our children? Because, hey, I'm a news junkie. I like to turn on the news. But how much is too much with that exposure plus talking about it? Where do we regulate? How do we regulate?
Okay, so there's no right answer. And I think there are some families that are very open about things. There's some families that, you know, choose not to have hard conversations. I think you know your baby best. I think you know your children best. I think you know your partners best. And what I just want you to pay attention to, right, is their responses. Be really tuned in to your children. Pay attention to their behavior. Pay attention to, you know, if they're saying things like, Mom, shut it off. Or like, do we always have to talk about this? Like Aaron was off on, we had discussions about bull sales and agriculture, and like, you know, how does that community that he's so intimately aware of, you know, shift in this process, because you just push on, right? And we kept talking about it, and I was like, okay, right? How do we, either we got to do something, either we got to sort of do something about that, or understand that we're in control of our 5, right? Like that's how we got to show up in this world. So what are we going to do about that? And I think so much of it is really about, how does that work for your family? Pay close attention to what you want is those times of having hard conversations, opening the place for questions. And I think checking in with where your kids are at instead of telling them how to do things really matter. And
daily?
You know your babies. I have a super anxious 9-year-old who has been diagnosed with a generalized anxiety disorder. This fella he has a lot of questions around, like, if there is a plane that is flying over from China, and if it shoots down, will that virus get into a ventilation system? Like, I mean, that's what I'm dealing with. Okay. And then the other two, I mean, the twins, Evan could give a rip. He is just jacked that he gets to play hockey every day. Right. So how you navigate that, I think this is going to be such an amazing time to really watch how your kids process this, because there's going to be so much more sort of face-to-face time that we don't have time that we don't typically have time for. And so I think there's not any specific way to do that, but there's three things I think, Carrie, or three questions that I ask all the time. Tell me more. Mm-hmm. Those three words open so much stuff when your kids are like, Mom, like, what if I fail grade 12? You know, what if I don't ever get to play basketball provincials again? Mom, what if I never, you know, I broke up with my boyfriend and I'm never going to see him and now he's going to date like, or what if the plane drops the virus, right? We often want to fix, because we're so good at that as parents, as educators, as, you know, anybody, you know, women leaders. We like to say, okay, here's the 5 things you need to do. Mm-hmm. What I don't want us to forget to do is hold space, because when we got to show our kids how to do it, we can't tell them. When we answer, which is I often do with Asher, okay, Asher, it is impossible because the plane does not drop the virus. You cannot do that. There's no, you know, I want to fix it for him because I don't want him to be dysregulated. But what matters most in these times is to hold space for those things. Tell me more. Mm-hmm. What's your biggest worry, baby? What am I missing? And then you provide some clarity. Then you provide some answers. But I really want you to open up that space for holding the emotion instead of trying to fix it all the time, because that is where you are giving them the skill to be able to do that for other people, because you can't give away something you've never received. So this is such a beautiful opportunity to do that with our babies, because we're going to be anxious. We're going to want to have the answers. We're going to be like, this is fine. This is fine. It's not fucking fine. It's not fine right now. No. And so, I mean, we can reassure and co-regulate at some point. Don't miss the magic in the middle, which is the holding of the space. I don't know, sweetheart, if the virus can drop from the plane from China. I don't, but I'm not going to go there again. And I'm going to say, tell me more. What are you worried about? Well, I think, you know, what if you and daddy die? And what if, you know, I saw in the news that, you know, 877 people okay, so where did you see that? And then, you know, well, I was watching my iPad today and like, oh, so when I let you on your iPad for 8 hours today, maybe mama should be monitoring that a little more. But it opens up all of those things that I think we kind of forget to connect to, because we just answer the question, right? Yeah. Yes. So it's that number one, and you know this as a phenomenal interviewer. I think anybody who, you know, does this work well, any therapist who's good at this process understands that if you hold space, you figure out what the purpose of the question is, right? Because they often have things that have nothing to do with the answer. And that's what our best friends are saying, you know, like, so like if you are only supposed to have 2 people in the room, right? And I'm like, tell me more. Because I'm just wondering if I could still get my eyelashes done. Okay. Tell me, right? Tell me more about that. Like, let's talk about that. Let's have a conversation about that, because I don't know what the answer is, right? How do we figure it out?
So now I want, like, I'm going to tell you something. And when I initially heard this, so as adults, I said the first thing, and I was surrounded by other moms, was like, okay, so we're homeschooling. Where's the curriculum? What do we do next? Why did I react like that? And I'm not asking for personal counseling, or maybe I am here, but I mean, on behalf of all the parents who jumped into that with both feet and thought, okay, on Monday, we have a schedule. We're whiteboarding. We're putting you on some sort. Why did that reaction happen to so many? What's the why behind us?
When you feel out of control, what's the first thing we want to do?
Get control.
Yeah. We want to tell our babies that we're in charge. We want to, you know, tell ourselves that, okay, we got this now. Okay. So now this becomes my responsibility. Now we're, you know, so let's do this. You know, I saw these beautiful memes, like you don't carry the one, you carry the one today.
I love that, by the way. I howled.
Oh my God. When I was trying to do math with Asher before this even happened, I was like, who teaches it like this? And I think that's really the point, right? Like I said this morning too, we're not teachers, right? We're not educated. Take it down a notch, baby girls, baby boys, because here's the thing, right? We have the finest curriculum in North America. If your children never, ever look at school again, until, you know, we step back in September, they're going to be okay. Some of the biggest things kids will learn right now is really about how to regulate emotion, how to stay connected when hard things come. You cannot, even if they were back in school, they would have not learned these beautiful lessons to this degree. This is a gift. And what I'm really interested about in terms of, you know, us saying, you know, I'm a teacher, and, you know, I've heard, you know, some of our clients say this week, like, oh my God, I barely made it out of grade 12. Like, how am I supposed to teach my babe, you know, grade 8 math? I don't even know how to do this. Like, what if I can't, they won't listen to me. This is what, you know, because we're not as good with our children. Other people are better with our children. This is why we have the institution of education. So slow your roll. It's going to be okay. And when you expect yourself to be a teacher, do you know that these are highly educated individuals, right? You're not going to do it. You're not going to learn it. You do not have to learn grade 8 algebra tomorrow. It would be like me stepping into the hospital tomorrow, right? And I'd be like, Kate, you need some nurses? Bitches, I got you. How hard can it be to find a vein? Fucking, can somebody just show me? Because I'll shoot it. How many cc's this feller need? I got cc. What is the cc? On the measuring cup here? Got it. Fucking, I'm in. No, you're not a teacher, and you're not an EA, and you're not a custodian. God knows I'm not a custodian, Christ. And I'm also not a chef, I learned. So now I'm ordering out all the time. Like, I'm none of those things. In fact, I don't even like parenting, but I have to do that now. And so we're going to figure out how to do this together, right? And what I'm really interested in this education system, right, is even, you know, some of Asher or the twins' teachers called yesterday, and I'm so proud of this education system of really trying to figure out how to set up this online platform really quick. And, you know, I spoke to one of the superintendents yesterday, and I just said, you know, I know this is a provincial-wide mandate or a Canadian mandate or, you know, North American mandate. It's okay if it takes us a longer time to get this together. It's okay. I don't think our parents are in the place to be able to walk our babies through this, right? Like, let's be careful even when we start to put this stuff out there that, you know, saying to parents, you need to sit with your kids for 2 hours a day and get them connected to technology and, you know, doing all of these things. Like, I just really, really want to be careful in the expectations that we put on parents who are trying to work from home and trying to do these things, and then educators who are trying to stay connected to their kids and serve this community in a whole new platform. You know, I was thinking this morning about, like, educators who've been doing this job for 28, 30 years, right? And they pride themselves. I mean, they've changed the lives of so many children by showing up and getting them when they come off the bus, by sitting down in the classroom and being like, okay, let's do a silly dance before we start today, right? And now I need you to learn a whole new Google Hangout system. I need you to be able to grade online. I need you to be able to, you know, have your students submit things online. I think it's going to be a bit of a slow growth period that we just need so much grace around. And I think there's some concern, right, at grade 12 graduation, you know, moving into college, all of those things. Again, this is what's amazing about this to me, is that we are in this situation globally.
Yes.
We are a fight against something that does not have a race or a religion, or it's nonpartisan. It has nothing that we can go us versus them. This is the human race against something that we can't see. Are we in it together? And let's do this together. We will figure it out together. Right? And that's the part that I'm so thankful for, right? If we take responsibility, we will slow this extra. Maybe I need to go back to school because I don't got literacy there for that word. But, you know, that's what I love about it, is it's really this thing. Like, can you ever imagine a time, Carrie, and all the things that you've ever reported on, where it was like, we're actually not against any person, any other human being, any other, you know, fight against, other than come together and we are better. And this is what the greatest leaders of the world have ever said. Nelson Mandela would say kindness. Martin Luther King would say, you know, we're stronger together. We're stronger together. We're stronger together. You know, let's be the same color in the same room. Let's have the same gender identity. Now we do it. We do it because it pays no mind whether you are a transgendered individual or you are a white farmer from Macklin. Your responsibility is to be as kind as you possibly can in this moment and think about other people first. You do it, we will survive.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Thank you for framing that and bringing that perspective to that conversation. I will dig into that. But before I leave the part about the adults and children, I need to know about structure during the day. So as we all navigate this particular area, what about structure in the kids' days? What do you suggest in that regard?
Okay. So I think, I think you do the best you can with what you got. I think that Grace in this process managed so much. If you're a single mama with 4 babies, you do your very best to, if it's iPads all day and you're going to be better because done, right? Somebody said this the other day, put the subtitles on, they're reading.
Yeah.
Done. Huh? What more do you want? I got it.
Right?
Don't sit down, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think you bake with them and you say, what is a half a cup plus a half a cup? Down.
Okay.
There'll be some of us that have resources that can step in and say, okay, between 9 and noon, here's what we're going to do, right? You're going to get up, you're going to have breakfast, and then we're going to start with this little module, and we're going to do this, and then you're going to go outside and take a break, and then you're going to do this. I would, without a doubt, we know you, me, and everybody else functions well with routine and predictability, right? But we, even with the best routine and predictability, if somebody is running that who's emotionally dysregulated and losing their ever-loving Jesus mind, I would rather, my number one priority is for the people running the show. Right? You could have a shit show of routine. Nobody has a clue where they're going. And if mom and dad are like, okay, yeah, I know, right? Like, let's have a dance party. Fuck it. Like, that is so, your babies are going to be so much better than if you're like, everybody, if you're trying this, like, this is my favorite teacher move. Right? And it works. Every time I speak to teachers, that's how I start every talk. I'm like, and like 90% of them, even the gym teachers, are like, right?
Yes. Yes.
So, I mean, again, I really, if you can have structure and routine in some predictable way, I mean, keeping bedtimes the same. I'm keeping the bedtimes the same because I want them little muffins of love to be in bed by 8 o'clock, right? Like, I'm like, oh, look, it's 7:30. Everybody get their jammies on. Like, we're not tired. I don't care. I think it's like, you know, as much as you can set up some routine, it's probably for your own sanity. And I mean, this is just Erin and I, but what, you know, I was talking about, let's really focus on trying to get something productive done in the morning, and then the rest of the day is theirs. And I think, you know, what we do with that, do we go for walks? Do we do those things? Yeah. Do we, you know, FaceTime with their buddies? That's great. And I'm sure there'll be some days where we do that great. And there'll be other days where it's iPad in the morning all the way to night. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay if you do that. It's 100% okay. They're going to be okay. And all we really want to do right now is keep each other alive. And the biggest question is, you know, if you have to stay at home on your couch and do this, if you need to keep your babies, you know, connected to their friends because they're playing online Minecraft or, you know, Grand Theft Auto 5, I mean, play it with them. Have those conversations. I often say this, you know, if you have an adolescent or a young adult, watch Love is Blind with them and talk about what a fucked up process and how they should never, ever do that in their life. And I mean, it's such a perfect opportunity to be like, she said yes. And you can, I don't know if you watched that yet, but and I think that, you know, those kind of things are right. How do we carve out time to do those things that we may never have done? So again, answer to your question, routine, predictability, always helpful to slow the prefrontal cortex down, but also give yourself so much grace in that process. You do the best you can with what you got, and it is enough. It is
Thank you.
Enough.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And together, can we just hold space for a moment and celebrate our beautiful and amazing teachers out there? Because they're working their asses off right now. For the schools that don't have online curriculum, they develop it in what, like 8 hours or something crazy. And then in the process, I got like my Allegra's grade 4 teacher sending out videos of her reading a book to the kids so Allegra could see her. Yes, it brought my daughter to tears because she saw her teacher and she was reading to her, and it was so beautiful. I had another one of Allegra's teacher, Dr. Jody, or Jody LG rather, I'm thinking of you, who was amazing, reaching out, how's she doing, how can I help? And just like, not only are they doing their stuff in the classroom, trying to get it done, working around the clock, but they're worried about our kids still. So for anyone out there who's a teacher,
an EA, an administrator, a custodian. When we say teacher, we need educator. We love you. We love you, love you.
We hold space, adore, respect. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, I needed to do that. I needed you to do it with me. Something I want to talk about now is at the heart of your teachings It's reconnection. And for so long, Jody, you've been saying, get the hell off the screen and reconnect with your kids. What does this brave new world look like in light of social distancing? What do we do?
You know what's really funny is that I haven't actually said get off your screens. I have said that if you want to really connect with people, screens are actually the safest place to do it. Use it as a segue to get in with our kids. Like, you know, people are like always saying to their kids, get off your screen time. Okay, mama, you got to collect before you direct. This is true in leadership and business. You would never come out of the gate to try to influence somebody to make a hard decision by saying like, you need to be better. You need to stop that. What I would say is if I was, you know, handing into a job interview, or I was trying to, like, let's pretend I was like a police officer trying to negotiate somebody off like a bridge, right? I wouldn't be like, hey, don't be such an idiot. Get the fuck off of there. I would collect before I direct. I would say, okay, hey, okay, listen, here's your choice, dude. You can do this. I get it. Things are bad right now. My end game is I'm going to get him off of there. But I got to collect before I direct. I got to meet him where he's at, because I cannot tell people how to calm down. I got to show them. I cannot tell people how to be empathic or compassionate or kind. I have to show them. And it is this capacity to collect before you direct that becomes the most influential leaders on the planet. The biggest people, not necessarily who get things done the quickest, because you can, if you have a big enough stick, if I have a gun, I can get anybody to do anything I want them to do. Make a good choice or I'll shoot you. Right? Stop at the border or I'll tell you to, right? So there are certain situations where there's take charge moments, and leaders who lead like that effectively get things done, but have no respect at the end of it. And what I really want to think about in this time of disconnect is how do we collect before we direct? How do we get in this place where we hold space and then we sort of talk about where to go? So when I think about that as a, you know, a leader, I think about this as, you know, you an influencer in this space, how do we set up that spot where we're saying, I hear it, I see it. This is hard stuff. Here's what we need to do. That, remember, again, that middle space of holding it becomes so critically important, not only for our little babes, but for our partners, for our employees, for the people who we're trying to walk through this hard part, right? How do we check in and then direct? It doesn't mean that all bets are off. It doesn't mean, you know, fuck it, we're out. Like, just go put your feet up. No. There needs to be a time where we come back. Let's give some grace and then we do it. Okay. Is that... Tell me the question again.
The reconnection through the screens, because now more than ever, it's all good. I love you're spewing goodness right now, and I'm soaking it all up. So I'm sure all of our listeners are. But I need to know, like, in this new world of social distancing, how do we stay connected?
Sorry. Yeah, thanks, Carrie. Yeah, you're right. I got off on my screen rant there. So again, I think here's the thing. I actually think that you do the best you can with what you got. Right? I love these situations now where people are, you know, going to senior centers and the kids are drawing pictures and putting them up on the windows. There's an initiative in some communities where, you know, you get your babies or whoever, you make a heart and put it in your window and people walk around and try to find the hearts in the community. Right? I love this idea of, you know, how do we support our local businesses? Yesterday I order out all the time now because I tried to cook and it's not good. And so what I try to do often is, you know, yesterday I left a $50 tip. I walked in and, you know, got this from one of our local little restaurants, and he had me punch in the pin pad, and, you know, I left a $50 tip, and he looked at me and he said, oh, no, there's a mistake. And I knew what he was going to say. So I just looked at him. I said, no, sir, this is hard times. And this, you know, oh my gosh, the 65-year-old Greek man, you know, filled with tears. And I'm not saying that everybody needs to do that, because, I mean, again, resources are tight right now, but I want you to think about what you can do in your communities. And this is going to cause people to really think about how do we serve each other? How do we walk each other home? And I hope that there's a time where this guy's feeling frazzled because he's making my souvlaki, that when he goes home, he can say to his wife, like, guess what happened today? Right? And together they can have this connection moment. And so I think this reconnection revolution, I stood on stages all over North America saying these things, you know, you can't, there's a physiological response that happens face-to-face and face-to-face connection that you can't replicate over an email or a text. That will remain true. In this moment, I want us to do so much more cognizant be cognizant of how we approach through our screens, through our texts. How do we set up the drop-offs and deliveries? How do we walk to each other's houses and bang on the window and, you know, dance in our best friend's yard while the babies are dancing too? You know, we've talked about the, you know, the spring, like, okay, you get your lawn chair and your cooler, you keep your kids in your fence, I'm gonna keep my kids in my fence, and then we'll just talk. Right? Can I tell you what we just did today? I just sent all of our buddies a text and I said, do you guys want to do an online crib tournament tonight? And I was like, Aaron, you have to play your spouse first. And then you have to record the thing. And then we're all going to get an app tonight. You $20 to play. And and then they whoever wins, they're going to make a draw because we're all curlers. So I was like, make a draw, like a curling draw. And I'm like, Jeff Miller, I'm going to kick your ass.
Like a round robin?
Yes! A crib tournament.
I love it.
Would we have ever had those discussions? Because I will tell you, if this was how things were 2 weeks ago, I'd be getting on a plane tomorrow to be away from my babies for 3 days. Mm-hmm. Aaron and I were supposed to take a holiday on Thursday, which I was like, no, we need time from the kids, just 7 days. And I'm just so thankful now that I get this opportunity to be with them. Who would have thought we'd be doing an online crib tournament? Right? But I think that's, you know, so how do we do those things? And then this is also really funny, but so I found this like couple dancing in their kitchen to this song this morning. And I was like, oh, Aaron, we have to do this. Look how many, this would be great. We got to show the world that like we could dance in the kitchen, and I'm showing him what I need from him. Like, I just need you to do this and we can lip sync the song. And he's like, not on your fucking life. And I'm like, babe, I feel like, do you know what growth is? Growth is stepping into something where you feel uncomfortable. And if you feel uncomfortable in this process, sweetheart, like, it's good. He's like, don't get the kids. I'm not doing this. I'm like, you just wait, buddy. And today we'll be making a music video.
Didn't you have some Kenny Rogers playing in the back to honor him and his passing?
Totally. He's like, shut that off. I'm not the gambler. You don't know when to fold them. That's what he said.
Oh, jeez. Okay, something that you have said multiple times, and I want to dig into this now, and it's coming up repeatedly, and it's something that's coming up for my husband and I, as you said during this time, what a gift. What a gift this time is. And if we can reframe our thinking, I mean, even with my husband's company, our company, the Luxus Group, he's looking at things and going, oh, babe, we can restructure. There's never been a time like this that we can change things and make business work better. And for me, as you know, I'm launching my inner circle online to give everybody a virtual hug and bring them into my content, bring them into the experts like you and beyond, and do these Facebook groups. And you are doing the same. You're creating your community, expanding it by bringing your book online and offering that. So this time, as you said it right at the beginning, and I wrote it down, you put, what a gift. Tell us more.
Yeah. I want to hold space for people who are, you know, in the hospital and losing their minds and, you know, finances and all of those things. I mean, it feels really sort of condescending to be able to say it's a gift. And so I want to be very careful about my white privilege in this particular situation. I guess I just don't want us to miss the moment, because I think it's really easy to panic about all of the things. And the easiest place to find the gift is gratitude. And it's gratitude's a practice, because you're not good at it if you don't do it, right? It's just like your golf swing. It's just like, I don't know, your interview skills. If you don't practice it, you're not good at it. And very few of us, you know, in our province, when we've been raised by farmers, are not awesome at gratitude, because you've never heard a farmer say, you know, do you know what, Ethel? It's going to be a good year. Let's book the trip to Florida. Never, right? It's always like, somebody going to die. It's too wet. It's too hot. It's too cold. And so we really come from this script of like, don't brag. Don't be positive, right? Because if you don't prep for the bad stuff, you will not be ready for it, young lady. And I think it becomes a real huge shift in the way we think about things to say, in this moment, there's so much uncertainty. What do I have that I can count on right now? What am I grateful for? And I mean, I've said this before. I've sat with Humboldt mamas and people who are going to, you know, lose their stage 4 cancer, going to leave 2 babies behind. And I would say ask them the same thing as I would say to you. Tell me the 3 things you're grateful for today. Tell me the 2 things you're grateful for today. And it is that conscious shift into seeking to find the joy, the connection that will help us survive this. Because there's so much space that we need to hold around the things that are hard realities. Businesses closing, trying to manage co-parenting kids if you're, divorced, or you've just been diagnosed, or you're pregnant, or any of those things. I was just thinking about, I saw yesterday somebody lost a child, 3 days ago, and they're trying to plan the memorial, and they can't do it, right? How does that interrupt the mourning process? All of those things are such a harsh reality right now. And even in the mess, how do we slow it, right? Pay close attention to your shoulders, pay close attention to where that breath is, because we need our prefrontal cortexes on right now to be able to navigate this. And so many people are depending on us. So many people, you're important to so many people in your world right now. You mean so much to so many people, which the corona cannot take away, right? The corona cannot take that away from us. So how do we really sink into that and then jump back into all the things that is now our reality? How do we, survive this financially? How do we make sure that nobody we love dies? And how do we manage that when they do get sick? All of those things are important to think about. How do we carve out time once an hour, once a day, to be able to go, I got food in my cupboard today. I got a bra on today. My babies are all in one place today. Whatever that is, it doesn't have to be great things. It doesn't have to be phenomenal things. It's just that shift in, and what that happened, from a physiological or neurological perspective, I'm decreasing cortisol in that moment. I'm releasing oxytocin and dopamine. Those are the things that I really want to help us survive, because in this moment, there is not a lot we have control over. But what we have control over is that capacity to slow it down. Right? I know it's shitty. I know there's so much uncharted, unprecedented territory right now. What do we have in this moment that we can hang on to? And then we go again, right?
Thank you for pointing that out. I zeroed in on the gift, but it was selfish to ignore the strife that so many others are going through. And I want to make sure I acknowledge that for those that are sick or have the virus or going through, it's all difficult times and financially very, very challenging times for so many people. So the gift is clouded by a million things, but in order to survive it, I think we got to dig for it.
Amen.
Okay. I want to know if, let's be honest, Dr. Carrington, we're only a week in. This thing is not going anywhere soon. So we're a week in, and there's some, I'm trying to bring the positive energy and whatnot, but is there a process emotionally that we're going to go through, kind of like Maslow's hierarchy, or through grief? First we're going to feel this, and then we're going to feel this, and then this is going to happen. There's no end game. What are we going to go through?
Yeah, I know, right? I love that you said that. I love that, how much has changed. And, our kids said to us yesterday, right? Have we only been off school for a week? And they're like, it feels like it's been forever, in some moments. And I think the landscape is changing so significantly. I mean, we talked about social distancing last weekend, but I was at a comedy show 1 week ago. I did a podcast in West Edmonton Mall. I was in West Edmonton, friggin' cesspool mall. And I love that place. I don't mean cesspool. I'm probably going to get hate mail over that. But I was there because I was like, no. We got this. You know what I mean? I just won't touch anybody. And now I'm like, holy moly. And I think so, I would not even I wouldn't. Maybe you do, but or somebody does. But in this moment, I just think, oh my gosh, too many people matter too much to me for me to put them in that place. And so, I think this ever-changing landscape is going to require platforms like yours, like mine, so that we can come in and have those conversations, right? That we can reset every day, every week, that they can have somewhere to sort of join and be like, is this what we're supposed to be feeling right now? Do you feel this way right now too? And if I do, or if I don't, what does that mean? How do we make sense of that? I think that is the most important. That is where the reconnection is really critical, because we're not going to just know what to do and then we proceed. There's no end game. So I don't know how this country is going to respond. You know, we've looked at all these trajectories and, you know, what it's going to look like in 6 weeks from now, 8 weeks from now. People say 18 months from now. People say, you know, whoa, no, everybody's like, I don't think we know. And I think so much of it is day by day. And here's the other thing that I think is really important is to stay in our own lanes. You know, we talk a lot about, you know, particularly if you have a platform of any sort or you're influencing other people or, you know, even as a parent or stay in your own lane, really be careful about, you know, what we say out in the world. And I keep trying to come back to this process of, you know, there's major experts on this. The World Health Organization, our, you know, Canadian leader, our health minister, who is just a frickin' rock star right now. How do we defer in times like that? I think what we all are really good at is walking each other home in terms of emotional regulation. That is where all of us have expertise. That is where all of us have the capacity to step into each other, either with a text or an email or a drive-by in your car to say like, okay, we're still here. We're scared and we're worried and we're, you know, trying to nap, we're trying to do all those things, but we're trying to figure out how we, you know, make money. We're trying to do all these kind of things, but we're here, right? We're in this together. We're going to figure this out together. And I think that's the critical piece.
I have to ask one more question about the together piece, because I'm going to be really honest with you. When I saw what was happening in Florida during spring break, I felt anger. So much anger, because you said this many times, we're in this together. Never has there been a time in our history that I can think of where the whole world has to be on board. It's hard to process it, because when you see other people acting irresponsibly or what you may think is irresponsibly, how do you keep that between the lines, those emotions?
Such a beautiful question. And I, you know, our little community has been asking this too. I think there's two things. I think that there's always take charge moments. And in the world, I'm very hopeful, as you've watched the government, you know, governments in different countries take charge in different ways in the next little bit. I mean, sometimes we are going to have to mandate some of those things. And I think the time is now for that to happen. Of course, that's their responsibility, not mine. Mm-hmm. When I think about it from my personal perspective, what I know to be true is it is not if we're going to do it, it's how. And we talked a little bit about that. How do we collect before we direct? How do we get in this place of really understanding? You know, different people have different takes on things. There's lack of prefrontal cortexes, you know, all on that beach. And I mean, we know what it's like to be, some of us know what it's like to be 19 or 20 and like, fuck it, we're, you know, we're fine, we're good. How do we, you know, as a community continue to hang on to each other, like moms and dads? My goodness, you know, this is the perfect opportunity to try to do what you can for your baby, to whether they're 19 or 21 or 24, we got to show them how to do it, right? And if that means, you know, hard lines around this, then this is when we take charge. And if you got to do the best you can with what you got, and I truly do feel like there will be government sanctions very soon, because I think we have the best of intention, but we are a human race that is wired for connection. And it is very difficult to unwire that in 48 hours or 2 weeks. It's very difficult. And I mean, I can tell you that too, even, you know, this time last week, I was like, no, I'm going to go to Joe Dombrowski's show because I want to see this guy. We're going to do a podcast. He's a brilliant educator. He's funny. And I'm just going to sit in the back. Aaron and I are just going to go. We won't see anybody. It's totally fine. And of course, I mean, I've spoken to Edmonton a number of times. And so there's these beautiful teachers, right, that are just on the edge. They're there for a laugh and they come up and they're hugging, right? And they want to hug. And of course, I don't have the power. I am not going to be like, hey, fist bump, bitch. I'm not good at that. So I appreciate so much about why, you know, people have to mandate me to social distance. I appreciate so much why there are those things in place. You can't have more than 2 people in a room. I really think, I mean, Singapore, I mean, I understand this right now. I mean, they're monitoring. So there's so many things around privacy issues that come into play right now. And it's such a balance, I think, between the greater good. And so look after your own house first. Pay close attention to that. If you need other people to support you in that process, my teenager won't listen to me. You know, how do we navigate, you know, their best friend's mom to have those hard conversations, those phone calls? How do we, you know, get grandma involved if they have a really awesome relationship with grandma? How do you use your educators right now? If the gym teacher is the one that connects to them, how can you, you know, Mr. Jensen, can you do me a favor? Would you call Jamie today? because he's not listening to me, man. And I know he loves you. Could you do that for me today? And if you do that for my babies and I do that for your babies, you know, we're infinitely connected. And oftentimes we're better with other people's children because we've got so much invested in our own babies. It's not because we're not good parents. It's not because they don't respect us or they don't love us. It's because they're angst, and we're going to get the baddest part of their behavior. That's how you teach kids to emotionally regulate. They got to get dysregulated to regulate. And they usually give it to us. And so if people are saying, oh my God, your kid is so much better when they're with me, that's exactly what I want to hear, because they should be trying to make sense of this hard thing in the walls of our homes. And now that we're smashed together in those walls, there's going to be a lot of emotional dysregulation. That is exactly what I want it to be. So you got to do your very best to stay connected in this hard time and see their behavior as not attention seeking, but connection seeking.
It's beautifully put. Jody, where can people find you? Because you are, like you said, launching a new online initiative and people need you right now. Tell us more.
Oh, you're amazing. We're www.drjodycarrington.com is the website. And so everything we do, that's the hub of everything we do. I have a online presence on Instagram and Facebook. And, you know, I was telling you, we're doing these jumping on live between 8 and 8:30 Mountain every morning. And Sunday nights, I'm still going to do our Sunday nights at 8 Mountain. So yeah, we'd love to have you. I mean, our communities overlap so much. So I'm so excited to continue to do more with the inner circle, and my people are your people. And, you know, you got two great resources in us, and I know we just love to serve this community. So I'm so glad you asked me to do this today.
Feelings are mutual. Tie a bow on this conversation for us. Leave us with some perspective to wrap up today.
All right, sweet ones. I want you to take a deep breath. I want you to really say this to me. This is the Corona is not going to win. Deep breath. I want you to pay close attention to the people you love, the things that you have right in this moment. We will get through this. We will get through this, however it is. And I'm just so grateful you're here, you know, following Carrie. She's the place where you need to stick to. We'd love to have you too. We're in this together. We're not going anywhere. So thanks for being here today.
Dr. Jody Carrington, you are a gift. I love you, I respect you, and I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for stepping into the inner circle again and providing us with unparalleled perspective. Love and gratitude to you today.
Mwah. Thank you, Carrie.